Thank you, Paul. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I am Amy Saxton, and uh, I'm working with Lari-Anne. We have been working together at the Mookini Library since 2005, which I have to keep reminding myself is 18 years, and kind of wondering how that happened. And this what we're going to be talking about today is part of how it happened. So we always have to tell people that Mookini Library, we are a University of Hawaii library, and we support two different campuses, which throws some wrenches in the works sometimes, but is also very rewarding because we're on a traditional four-year campus at Hilo, but we're also supporting Hawaii Community College. So we have a very wide range of patrons, faculty, staff, students that we work with. And so what we're going to be talking about today is just some of the ways that we've connected with all of our different patrons on both campuses to support the library's mission of being a gathering place and a gateway to many sources of learning and knowledge. So one of the most foundational ways that we do this is through library instruction. Lari-Anne and I are very fortunate that when we joined the library, the librarians who were already working there had been working very hard for many years to make sure that the library was part of coursework. And one way that they did this was through having every English 100 class on both campuses come into the library for introduction to the library sessions, where the students come in for a tour of the library, and we give them an introduction to the resources and the services that we have. And then we have a pre-test module and quizzes homework and a post-test. Nowadays it's in La Lima that all of the students must do, and then that gets incorporated into their English 100 grade. So they all get our English 100 is our basic composition course, and so they're learning how to write different types of essays, and so they all get some foundation in how to do academic research. And but within that, we also try to be as flexible as possible with offering different things that our course instructors may need to help the students. One way that we do this is some of the English classes, they still only come in for the 2 sessions, but others over the years has started adding additional sessions within a semester. So for example, when the students are writing an essay that's structured around a current events topic, they'll come into the library to see how to find reputable current event news sources. And then another time, they might be writing a different kind of essay about a local Hawaii topic. And so they'll come in, and the focus for that day will be the materials that are available in our Hawaiian collection and through a reputable online sources for that. And we have some English classes now that are coming in, what, Lari-Anne, 5 or 6
Yes, up
times
to
a
6
semester?
times.
Yeah. And in addition, we do library instruction for any course. So we've done it for auto mechanics courses, English, history, marine science, psychology, just any course where students are going to have to do research using the library's resources. We will an instruction session for. But we also do other types of instructional support if that doesn't work. So one of the ways that we connect with our community is talking to them, and collaborating with them, figuring out what they need. So a few years ago, actually probably more years now than I'm actually remembering, um, an instructor who does an asynchronous summer course wanted to make sure that their students had this introduction to the library, but because it was asynchronous, because the summer courses are so fast paced, this instructor asked for a handout. So I went ahead and did that. And she said that the students found it useful. So now I update it every summer for them. And then, of course, the pandemic hit and we couldn't do in-person instruction for a while, but we still had to be able to get this information to the students about the resources that they had available, and how to do this research. And we did have web pages about it, but the younger kids, I'm told, they're really into their videos. So another librarian and I, Brian Bays, got together and we did some library tutorials that you can see here. And we asked our fellow librarians, our staff, the instructors that we work with for ideas as well. And I wrote the scripts and took lots of photographs, and then Brian put everything together. So again, just that flexibility of, and communication is really where it starts. Communicating with your patrons and figuring out what they need and then how we can go ahead and do that. And Hilo, right at the very beginning of the pandemic, we had various people who were working with courses that were already online. But of course, when everybody crashed into having to be online all of a sudden, Hilo formed a distance learning team, and they put together a template in Laulima, which is our course management system, for people who had never taught online before, instructors. And so they could just fill in the template. So it reminded them that they needed a syllabus, and here's how you can do that, and how to do this part of a Laulima course. And one thing that our wonderful Cindy Yamaguchi helped me put together was this one-page overview introduction to the library that is both part of the Laulima course template, or we can just put it in as a standalone page into any Laulima course that an instructor asks us to do. So again, talking to them, what they need, the flexibility to figure out different ways to get that information to patrons.
All right, so the library is a gathering place, and I think post-pandemic, we're finally seeing it return back to being a gathering place for our students. But it's also a place for our departments to come in and highlight their different programs. And so Amy and I both took a deep dive into old photos that we have through our staff. And we're going to probably say it over and over again. We forgot a lot of things when we were here. This happens to be a new faculty or reception from 2003, which was before our time. But you'll see photos throughout our presentation where we'll be like, we don't remember doing that, but we were there. So obviously we did it. But we learned a lot from these photos. So this was a long-standing tradition in the library where they had a new faculty reception. It was planned by a committee of librarians and staff, and they invited, of course, new faculty, but deans, and I think there might have been some division chairs at least in there from both campuses. And it was done during the convocation week. And talking to old timers, once we started working at Mookini, I heard about this event from faculty, how much they enjoyed it. The staff prepared the food. It was mainly held, and you're going to see this throughout the photos, held on our 3rd floor of the library. It's not as busy as the main floor, which is our 2nd floor. So it's nice. The furniture can be moved around and set up for these events. And so here you'll see librarians, like some of you might know Thora Barca. And I think there's Ellen Okuma in there, who is our former Hawaii Community College librarian in that bottom one, talking to the new faculty. So it was just a great way to communicate our services and do outreach. In our time, we have had other types of new faculty orientation. We try to bring it back at different points. And I think it's something, after looking at these photos, we might want to rethink, especially as programs change on our campus and we're not as involved. Sometimes people who plan the campus events are new, they don't know what was done before, and sometimes we get forgotten. So makes us stop and think that, okay, this was a great program, it worked, the faculty enjoyed it. Our staff that worked on it that are still with us said it wasn't that hard to plan. So maybe that's something we rethink. And I think that's
really
something in
fortunate.
general.
Our staff loves to cook. So
yes.
potlucks are always really big deal at our library.
Yes. So sometimes it's good to take a look back and see what worked, and maybe stop. We'll talk about that a little later. Stop for some reason, but maybe should be rethought of again. And so another way we reach out to the community is through tours with different groups. Again, we did this in 2007. I have vague memories of it. Obviously, I was in the picture, so I was there. And it was coordinated by Helen Wong-Smith, who at the time was our Hawaiian collection librarian. And so I was there. Another librarian, Amy Kneehans, also helped out. All I remember from that group was they were very well behaved, but we broke the tour up into different areas. So I did the front area of the library before they went into our Hawaiian collection, which is of course what they enjoyed looking at. So you can see they're doing activities in our Hawaiian collection there. And of course, that last picture is beautiful. I do remember they sent a thank you card with the last picture, and it was just great. But we've done other tours in our time with middle schools, high schools, just trying to teach our local students what a university library does. I always tell them most of our libraries are very similar. So if you feel comfortable in ours, you'll feel comfortable in other college libraries as well. I know Amy had a Girl Scout troop come in and visit one evening within the last year, I think. So there have been different community groups come in and learn about how the library works and what resources we have, because the public is welcome to come in. All right, so in 2008, Lynn Tanimoto, one of our staff members, spearheaded a book drive. And so she worked with a couple of classes at Chiefus Kapiolani Elementary School to find out what books they wanted. And our staff raised funds or made donations. And that was just a great way to reach out to a local a school and make that connection. And they really did appreciate the new books that were given. Again, we did that one time. I don't know why we only did it one time, but it was definitely a great program, and maybe something we should think about in the future, just to do some outreach, share the love of books. We'll talk a little bit later about fundraising and some of those other community events, but we did have a thank you reception in 2012. And in this picture, you'll see 5 staff members, 3 of whom are still working in our library. So we have a lot of staff, and well, Amy and I've been here 18 years now, but we have a lot of staff that work a long time in the library. The other 2 only retired in the last couple of years. But this event was just to reach out to the community supporters through food again, and just to say thank you. And also, you'll see on the next slide, they get to see what the library has to offer our students. Back then, I think that's when we first had our enhanced study rooms. They were still pretty new. That's when we put monitors into our study rooms. So students can either plug in their laptops or check out keyboards from our circulation desk so that they can work on projects and they can collaborate together. again, they're in different areas of the library, like our main floor, and of course our third floor, which is easy to gather in. And our Hawaiian collection is, of course, one of our favorite collections to promote and share with others. So you'll see that happen as well. Now, UH Hilo was involved with this at the start of the Peace Corps. There was a training done in Waipio Valley that prepared volunteers before they went off to serve in other countries. And so, of course, the 50th anniversary was a big deal. And so you can see a display here in our main area of the library, which looks completely different now. But and you'll see displays there as well. One of our former Hawaiian collection librarian, Mary Louise Haraguchi, made a big connection with some of those former volunteers who were researching, and they later created a documentary about the start in those trainings. And so they're here at an event with the display. She, in fact, has retired and is still meeting and working with those volunteers as well. So they're still really involved with our UH Hilo campus. And it's just another great community group to work with. They have such knowledge of things that happened way back in the 1960s. So,
so another way that we connect with our campus patrons is we have a lot of display spaces in the library, and we encourage other departments to create displays, especially in our lobby area. We have 3 glass display cases that lock, so we can put materials in there. And everybody who walks in and out of the library, we've only got the one main entrance, so they have to walk past these cases. We also have some hallways where we have special rails that artwork can be hung from. One of our biggest supporters for especially the glass display cases is the history department. Almost every year for probably a decade now, they do a display in February for Black History Month. And as you can see, they'll put up, we've got a timeline of things that go on, as well as books from our collection, just a little overview of this event and what we have available. And then in March, for about the same period of time, they do a display in March for Women's History Month. And the theme changes a little bit each year. So this year it was that's shown here. It was Hawaii women. That was the focus for this one. And I apologize for the angle on some of the photos is strange, because it's actually really difficult to get photos of these cases because they are glass, and the glare from the lights and the reflections and everything. And the cases are actually a little difficult to work with, but I think they turn out really well. They've got, depth to them and a variety as well. Some of the displays have just been very eye-catching. And when departments aren't using them, we have used them to showcase certain items in our collection, like letting people know that we have music CDs. There's one that's really good about, different genres of music CDs and things like that. The history department back in 2014, class spent the entire semester focused around this idea of wahipana, and there were a lot more posters like this that were also in one of our hallway, we call them galleries, for displaying the artwork as well. And they took these absolutely amazing photos around the island. And in our lobby, in our entrance area, it was visible in a photo a couple slides back. We have a TV monitor, computer monitor. It's bigger now than it was back in 2012. And we actually have a slideshow that runs there that's usually information about what's going on in the library, or maybe right outside the library. We have a library lanai, and there's events that are scheduled to go there. And so we might advertise those. And for a while, when the Lahipana exhibit was up, we were also interspersed with those slides. We were running these images because are just so beautiful. And also to introduce people to this idea, to reinforce this idea of there are so many special places on all of the islands, and here are some of the ones from the Big Island. But the history department, even though they're probably our most frequent user of our exhibit spaces, we have also, oh, sorry, I forgot about National History Day. This was another thing the history department approached us about, to work with them. This is a national program to encourage students to do historical research. And so the history department, even though it's for grade school children, students, our college history department works with them on this. And they reached out to the library and said, hey, you know, part of this is supposed to be them actually doing historical research, and you guys are the experts on it, so can you come talk to them about it? And so we did. And this is, various librarians have done this over the years, and they've all said, oh, this was so much fun getting to show these students, you know, this is how you find a primary source document or something like that. And again, just showing the range of campus patrons, community patrons that we work with.
I just wanted to say we showed them the public library databases for that.
Yeah,
So
a lot of them
connection
that we have are the same. So
yeah,
that's a good way to ease them into it. They start using those databases through the public library that are available to them, and then they have kind of a leg up when they come to college. It's like, oh, I already know how to use EBSCO, you know, or oh yeah, I love JSTOR. So it's good to have that continuity. So the anthropology department did a display in our cases. This was in the spring, I think, just this year. And so as you can see, it's not always just books and information. We've also got some interesting artifacts here as well. And then this display is actually still up, celebrating Title IX and Patsy Mink. This was done by the Title IX office. So again, just collaborating with our campus patrons to have areas of interest in the library. And then just one more, our University of Hawaii at Hilo Student Association, USA, did a display about sustainability and recycling that was in our lobby cases as well. So lots of different, you know, we welcome, as librarians, we know this, we welcome everybody to come in.
all right, so we also support different campus events, and we'll talk about a few of them. The first one is Wailao storytelling events. This is done with staff out of the chancellor's office, but how the library, so it's a talking story event. It's allowing storytelling in the community. And you can see they tape it. It's actually filmed on our lanai usually. But what's great about it is our library technology services students help out. So they get some really good experiential training in filming and sound and putting it together. So not only is it the place they do it, but we provide the expertise, and it allows our students to get some great experiences. Okay, and one great thing is our supervisor that's over them, Glenn Fernandez, he's trained them so well in creating user guides. They come up with directions. They always go in after and figure out what they've learned. They record it so that we can see it in the future. We've learned over the time that institutional knowledge is so important, and we lose it so easily when people leave us. So our students are, and he's done that for years. So it's really important to make connections with our faculty, staff, and students. And so we were invited to participate in the Advising Spooktacular this year on Halloween. So right before registration, our programs try to get students to major in those areas, but they invited us. They said we had to dress up in order to do it, and it was just a lot of fun. The College of Arts and Sciences gave us candy so that our students could go trick-or-treating table to table. I'll say our students were afraid to talk to us because they thought we wanted something, but we did manage to talk to a few students, and we gave away the last of the candy by leaving a candy bowl by our exit desk, and it was gone by the next morning. So they love candy, they just didn't want to talk to us that day. As Amy knows, the candy was gone. Yes, so our campus was Blue Zones approved pre-pandemic, and we had, our staff was so strong at doing activities, participating on the campus activities. One of our former employees, Michelle Sylvester, really pushed it. In fact, the large approval sign is actually in the library because we're central to campus, but also because our staff really helped our campus to get approval. So that's one way to reach out to our campus communities to participate in those types of activities.
So we've also had over the years various interactive displays. This is actually a display area that's on our third floor. And as you can see, we can do a lot with this space. We can put things in the locked glass area. We can have a display of books on a book cart. And we also have this easel with paper, and we left some pens. And so here it's, what's your New Year's resolution? And when this idea was first brought up, some people said, "Oh, you can't do that. You can't leave something out that people are going to write on. You'll have profanity and graffiti, and we're going to have to look at it every day to make sure there's nothing offensive there." And as you'll see, we've done several of these displays, and not once have we had any graffiti or profanity. People seem really appreciative of not only being able to leave their opinion, but also we've seen things like, "Oh, that's a great New Year's resolution. I'm going to try that too. Thank you for suggesting this." This is one of my favorite ones. Children's stories, they're not just for children. And again, we had the easel with the pen, "What's your favorite children's book?" And there was a lot of back and forth here because somebody would write a title of a book and somebody was like, "Oh yeah, that's my favorite too," or "I had forgotten about this one. That sounds interesting. I'll need to make sure to look for that." So it really was a great way for, even if it was a little bit at a distance, for people to connect. And one of the things I liked about this display was it wasn't just, "Here's some children's books," but also the themes of those books. So acceptance, belonging, family, to get people to see that these children's stories, they're not just for children. And then this was another fun one. This was entirely the work of one of our staff members who wanted to support National Pet Month, which I think is in April.
Yeah.
And so beginning earlier in the semester, we had things in our lobbies and flyers and things about give us your pet photos of your pets. And we would make copies of them. And then our staff member did all these backgrounds for the photos and put the names on and put it together. And this was a favorite among both the staff and our patrons who come in. They just love seeing all the photos of the pets. And of course, you know, we're a library, so we also provide information as well. And this was so popular that I think it was the next year we actually took these photos. We asked for more and people gave them to us. And we turned them into a presentation for that lobby monitor, that computer screen right in our entrance area. And very often when I'm sitting at the information desk, I would see people come in and just stop and just stand there for like 5 minutes looking as the pet photos cycled through. And you could just kind of see the tension leave their body. And so it was a good way to connect with people. It was a good way to provide them with a little bit of a break for a moment to look at, you know, something so relaxing and so fun. We have done one that I don't have photos of. Again, in April, we did something like this display, but with poetry. And we encouraged people to create a haiku. And for that one, we actually had prizes to give away for the haiku contest. This one is holidays around the world. So books about different traditions, handouts about different traditions around the world. And we asked people to share their holiday traditions. And so we had paper and pens and thumbtacks and, you know, write out what's your holiday tradition and put it up on the board. And again, no profanity, no graffiti, nothing like that. It was all very much went as we had intended it to go. And people really enjoyed being able to share their traditions and also to see the traditions of others in our community.
So we also have other ways of reaching out to our students that are not traditional. Well, I wouldn't say that perhaps at a university library you wouldn't expect. And the first was we tried to do relaxation stations. I love coloring, and I know our students love coloring too. So it's just to give them a study break and let out some of the creativity that they have. Something that we've done more recently that you'll see in the next slide is painting. In fact, our next day for painting is on Monday. So we just put out tables on our lanai out there. We provide the canvases and the paints, and our students are so very creative. I'm not an artist, so I'm always shocked at how wonderful their paintings turn out. And they just walk by. We're central to campus, and a lot of students stop, more than stopped at our Halloween spectacular, I have to say. So they really enjoy painting. We also I teach them how to do ribbon lei making. So we're also going to be doing that on Monday as well. We also support different ways of learning. In the next slide, in our display case, we have a lot of different equipment, cameras and other things. So it's just promoting ways to take pictures on the Big Island. We have students from all over the place, not just local, but our students that are from other places. We sometimes also put our guidebooks out there so they know that they can check it out from the Hawaiian collection. So those are just some of the ways to do that. We also started lending ukulele, and they're sometimes used by some of our music classes. This happened to be an event to celebrate the start of that collection where we had a lecturer who came and played music, and it was really great turnout for that. The most recent event that we have is our haunted house. It's put on again by our library technology services. Our supervisor, Glenn Fernandez, he's a theater person. He's so great. And it's student run. And again, they document what they've done every year so that they know they're not starting from scratch every year. It started off as just the staff thing the first year, but it was so exciting. They started inviting campus to it, and now it's a huge deal. And so you'll see on the next slide, we were very impressed by their work of documenting. So that's the office. It's just one of their offices. They have to move everything out. It's our tech office. So you can imagine all the computers and parts are in there, but they manage it. They manage to do it. And not only do they prepare it, they use technology by creating computer images that they project, but they also man it themselves. They staff it. So you'll see some of the preparations here. And our student assistants as they dress up. Now, we can't take pictures of the actual haunted house because it's dark. It's completely dark in there, but you can see that they have fun doing it. And the supervisor only does it with the approval of his student assistants because a lot of the work falls on them. But definitely something we
love that part of what they're learning with this theoretically fun event is how to document work. So this is just one example of, just create a ghost person with a garbage bag. No, there's a structure underneath it, and the documentation is such a valuable skill that they can take out into the workforce.
And they also did a video just to advertise it that they put on their Instagram too, and put out there. So yeah, valuable lessons.
So we have a new event series that it started off as a one-time thing and grew very quickly. Last year, we applied for some grant money. We have a very small graphic novels collection, and we want to build it, but we haven't been given money to purchase books. So we applied for this grant money, and we were able to get some new graphic novels for our collection. And one of the requirements of the grant money was that we kind of promote to our campus community that, hey, we got money and this is what we used it for. And so we thought, well, since this graphic novel that you see up in the upper left, Hamakua Hiro, A True Plantation Story, is written by Patsy Iwasaki, who is an assistant professor in UH Hilo's English department. So we said, hey, let's promote our graphic novels by promoting this local graphic novel by a local author. And so we scheduled a day. Patsy wanted to have it in September because this graphic novel is about a man named Katsugoto, who unfortunately was lynched for trying to get support for plantation workers. And there's a week in September every year that's Katsugoto Week, where there's lots of events, especially here on the Big Island, remembering him, what he was fighting for, and things like that. So we scheduled the talk for during that week. And when Patsy was doing other promotional things for that, she would mention the talk. So we actually got way more people than we thought we were going to. We had promoted it on the campuses, of course, sending out emails and flyers and like that. And we actually had close to, at one point, 50 people in our library. This is our new space downstairs for Kilohana, our tutoring center. They were, again, this is an idea, one of these collaboration things. We mentioned that we were having this event, and Carla Hayashi, who runs the tutoring center, said, hey, why don't you have it down in our space? And so here we have some of our people. And again, our Patsy wanted it filmed because she's working on a documentary. And so our library technology services students did the filming for it, and did some of the cleanup work with the video afterwards. And so you see them here filming it. And Patsy had on the screen. You can see she shared some images from the story and talking about different topics in the story, like family, food, friendship, society, things like that. And the audience really got into it with sharing their stories of these themes as well, which is what we were going for. Patsy didn't want to just do a talk. She's like, I'm a professor. I do that 3 times a week. So it was really great that this came in. Uh-oh, I see Paul. Eeks, I'm running out of
Sorry,
time.
Annie.
So this has become a series of events. Our second one was Susan Wackerbarth. She wrote a novel that was released during the pandemic. So she was really appreciative of this chance to be able to share her novel with people. Third one, another English professor who's already written books, but he did something a little different. He talked about the book that he's writing now. And we do have some scheduled for the spring, a history book and one written by an anthropology professor as well. There we go.
All right. So over the years, we've learned what doesn't work. So we're going to highlight 2 of our programs. The first one was Learn at Your Library. We noticed at the reference desk things students needed help with. So we did workshops. And as you can imagine, those of you who've done workshops, our attendance was sparse. And so it didn't work. So now we do appointments, and we call them book a librarian. So students can schedule appointments with librarians that take longer than the 5 to 10 minutes at the desk. So about half an hour appointments. We also, under one library director, had 9 in the Stacks, which is a fundraising. It didn't really match our local community. It was a lot of work. And actually that work took the place of the new faculty reception. That's why they stopped the new faculty reception. So it was just too much work for the staff. So that was a program that didn't work. Which during this time, I guess both of us, Amy, can talk about what we learned from the experience of writing, coming up with this presentation. Lessons learned: we need to document more. We need more pictures of stuff we've done recently. And so I think that's what we're going to try to do, is document through pictures and writing.
Yeah, the writing is important, but the photos, I think, really spark something. And I apologize, we are running late. I talked way too much. But that is our presentation. Thank you very much. And I see there are some things in the chat.
Yeah,
No, I
thank
know.
you.
Questions.
Oh, if I could just take a minute and read some of these comments, because I think they're great. Your presentation was wonderful. Thank you so much to the both of you. As a public librarian, this is giving me a lot of ideas for programs as well. I'm just going to read some of these comments. People said things like, such a powerful way to engage the community in making space for their voices. I love these displays. Great ideas. Someone, and this really resonated with me. They said, this really makes it clear that I need to create more display areas in my library. And I said I was thinking the same thing. Showing displays is a wonderful idea to gather the campus patrons. Wow, so many great ideas. Will you two be sharing your slides later? That's a good question.
I don't know if we can do that through HLA, but if you just email one of us, we certainly share the slides with you. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. And the contact information is available. Yeah, we are running a little short on time, but I definitely want to encourage.
Apologies for that. Thank you everyone for sticking with us to the end.
Oh no, it was fantastic. Thank you. All right, well, everyone, if that's it, thanks again. Really appreciate you both coming and talking with us. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.